Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo.
At schools in England have
Painting goo. Oh. Painting goo. I had to answer the door there. I'll be back in 2 seconds. You're playing the piano, you little fuck. I need to redress myself. Well, it was bound to happen eventually. Ugh, just had to answer the door. Like, oh god, that was actually hilarious. Oh, I've had a funny morning. Welcome to Paintingu. I hope you're all well. I had a funny morning this morning. Oh, that was hilarious. It's like someone banging on the door there, delivering a parcel, and it wasn't even for me. It was for the neighbor. He's like, "Can you give this to her? Like, she's not in right now." Like, I heard someone banging on the door, and I just whipped all this off. It's like, shh. Like part of me is like, will I answer the door dressed like this? You know, because I get a laugh out of them. But then somebody like, I just imagine like someone from Amazon being like, you know, you're probably gonna be surprised that this isn't the weirdest thing I've seen somebody open the door to. Like, oh, I can only imagine what stories like plumbers and fucking carpenters and uh, delivery men and fucking electricians and so like people who enter your home for like any length of period of time. Like I did a one day. I did one like not even a full day. I did one like half day experience of door to door sales. It was literally one of the worst days of my life. Being in that environment where like you're with some just absolute airheaded cunt who is totally okay with like knocking on someone's door, ringing the doorbell, and like like easily 100 times in a day saying the same thing in the same tone, like with the same inflections. Do you know, what I mean? Like just like, "Hi, I'm from blah 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 marketing, blah blah blah." And where the hell? Oh my god! Like it's just, I was just standing beside this bitch for fucking like easily like fucking 4 hours or something like this, like going door to door. But then part of me was like, this is a mad experience because like there was two houses in particular where the first house was we went into this middle-aged mother's home. She was like, I'm assuming she was like married or some shit. Like I can't remember, but like it looked like you were just walking into, your atypical. The husband's at work, the wife is at home with the two kids and the dog, keeping an eye on the house. And she like brought us into the dining room and was like, talking to your one about signing the thing and like signing up for the charity or whatever the fuck it was. And I was just standing in this woman's house, witnessing, you know, a typical day in her life. And the two of us are both total strangers, and we're there under the pretense that we're selling her something. Like, we're not even selling her a product. We're selling her the idea of donating to a charity through a third party organization. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, this is just crazy. Who the fuck lets people like that into their gaff? Having said that, I did actually do that one. Like, I think I remember, I think it was after I had that experience. It was around Christmas time, and some young fella came to my house, doing fundamentally the same thing. But it was freezing cold outside, And like my mother at the time, was always one of those like she didn't know how to just say no and close the door. So she'd just be standing there talking to this guy, and like all the heat was coming out of the fucking house, and he was like standing there like freezing and shit. Like so, I was like, "Here, come in, like have a fucking cup of tea, like whatever." Like I get it in that sense, like do you know what I mean? But to just like let two random people into your house and you're a female alone with your two kids. Do you know what I mean? And like she just lets me and this other young one into her gaff, like to sell her something. It's just crazy. Like, and then there was another one where we like sat down and spoke to this like this is like like not the same deal, but like we went to this old lady's house and she opened the door and like asked us to come in and sit down and talk about it and stuff and all like, and it was just mad because she was just sitting there watching like EastEnders or something, like and it like you could tell she was one of those like pensioner like senior citizens where like she obviously just like gets some kind of payment either from her former job or the government or something. Like she's got a big flat screen TV. She's got all this like, brand new, really nice furniture and stuff. And she's like 70 and she doesn't even know how to work the remote properly on the telly that she's got. Like, you just tell that all of this stuff is like bought for her and she just like exists in this house. Like, it was such a mad experience doing shit like that. Like, and I just think it's always like, I've often thought about that where like, if you have that type of job where like every day you're entering people's lives and you get to sample a day in the life of another random person. Like the shit you'd probably witness, you know? Like imagine being a plumber and you're just trying to like fix, a sink or some shit like that. And whatever about the cliche tropes of like, oh, he's probably gonna fuck the wife or some shit. Like, not like the odds, like logistically, of that taking place are probably quite low depending on where you are. But like, imagine just being someone's plumber and you're like working there for like 4 hours. Like it doesn't even have to be that long of a period of time, but you get to see how the parents interact with the kids. You get to see like whether the kids are like little shits or not, and like how they behave. And then what if the couple has an argument while you're there and all? Like just imagine being in somebody else's life, around somebody else's life, because you're there to provide a service. But as a human being, you're gonna like respond to uh, the stimulus of that environment. I've always thought it was like fascinating to like I'd always like didn't they make like they made a movie called Sex Lives of the Potato Men, and I remember watching it one time. I was like, it's a degenerate movie. It's pretty funny. It's kind of dark though. But it's like it's sexually grotesque in a lot of ways, like, but it's very real because there's certain worlds that your average person is just totally unaware of. The people who like make everything, the deltas of the blue collar environment, like the delivery drivers, the plumbers, the carpenters, the fucking truck drivers, all these people who just like do the same thing every day, but like they're in people's lives all the time, keeping shit going, fixing stuff, like installing things, delivering shit, like, and everybody else is just like going about their day while these people like intermittently come in and out your lives, like, and just the shit you'd witness, like, because the shit I've witnessed just being at a friend's house, or you know like the first time you got like you're hanging out with a friend for a while, and then it's like the first time you ever go to their house, and you get the vibe of the house and like their parents and shit, and like within the first 5 minutes you're like, oh yeah, this, like, your parents seem cool, like, this house is all right and shit, and then you go to other houses and you're like, how do you exist in this environment? Like, how in the name of God can you live like this? Like, I've been hanging out with you for months and I had no idea that you were a fucking creature, not human. Oh. Christopher, like, Moon Jazz, I haven't seen you in this chat in God knows how long. And the first thing you comment is a question of whether something is being raped or not. Dude, come on. Like, you can hang out, but don't comment. Okay? Is that a sunflower being raped? No, like, look at that. Like, look at the image. Dude, like, there's something not clicking in your head, bro. You know, it's not like when you were here before and you were fucking telling me to paint fucking your one's big breasts and shit like that. Like, like, you need to learn how to interact socially on the internet, because you've repeatedly made yourself out to be like a bit of a freak. Okay, so like, you can chill, enjoy painting goo, but keep your mouth shut. Is that a sunflower being raped? Like, fuck, like, look at it. Like, like the flower has a knife. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. Like, sure, like, fuck. Like, I don't know. Like, anyway, some people just don't know how to behave on the internet, man. Welcome to Paintingu, Demon Hunter Beru, Elfu. Your puck elf today. What were we last time? Fucking oh, it was actually really funny, wasn't it? Fucking salt fairy or some shit like that. That shit was hilarious. I beg forgiveness for my dishonor in advance. I have much to do today. Ah, it's all good, bro. You are forgiven. Of course, you are forgiven. Especially you, Demon Hunter. You are an avid patron of Paintingu. You will be given much leeway, but only so much. Hey, hugs and ends and shit. I've been watching yesterday too, just not feeling well and being quiet. You having a bedridden day? I all morning I have been like sniffling and coughing. Like the promo I did this morning, like I played it up and all. Like I fucking was like, I have the sniffers and all this fucking shit. Like, and 5 minutes before the stream, gone. I'm fine. Nothing wrong with me. I swear to God, since I woke up around 11 o'clock, I didn't get to bed till like fucking 5:30 in the morning. I was like just in bed drawing parts of my new symmetrical design. Just couldn't get to sleep. Like, and I woke up this morning and I really badly had the sniffles. Like, was just coughing up, snorting mucus like all fucking morning. And now I'm fine. Fucking weird. Really weird. It's so funny. Like, since COVID hit, the last 3 odd years around winter time, I've either not gotten sick at all or I've gotten pretty sick, and it's like different to any other sick I've ever gotten. It's fucking weird. Like, I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that I didn't get one of those fucking clot shots. Oh, excuse me. And it is concerning. You see, like I don't want to, like I'm not one of those fearmonger dudes, and I tend to not have a fear response to propaganda and news and stuff. But I'm seeing a lot of stuff for like in terms of the negative effects of the recent vaccine rollout. Like I don't think it's over. I think there's going to be lasting effects of that shit, like, and I think there's other things that they're going to do to compound those effects. And it is concerning, We all know people that got those things, and I don't think the consequences of that have ended. Oh, I forgot to put the little bitch bear over it. You see what you did, fucking Moon Jazz? You distracted the fuck out of me with your fucking creepy rape comments. Like, think about the question you asked, chap. Like, you asked me if I had painted a picture of a rabbit, like being like a rabbit raping a sunflower. Do you think I would paint something like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, like in all the episodes of Painting Goo have, like, I may have painted offensive shit. Hitler on the moon with a squirt gun. I don't know. Some fucking gobshites or retards probably find that offensive for some fucking reason. I've painted swastikas and all this fucking shit. Even though I find that hacky at this stage. I've painted Jews. I've painted 3 Hitlers wearing top hats. One of them was fucking in underwear, like being crucified and shit like that. Like, I have painted some fairly random, funny, offensive shit. Have I ever painted or even even like remotely, vaguely gotten close to painting something like that? You know, like like fucking like mad, like you're tapped, yeah. Is that a doll's house piano set? Oh my god, I love mini stuff like that. I don't know if it's a doll's house piano set, but it's a tiny prop piano. And I agree, I fucking love shit like this. I love tiny versions of things, like, because I really like it's actually pretty decent. Like, the artistry involved in this is pretty decent. Like, it even has like little, fucking music notes and stuff on it and all. And there is little strings attached to but the keys don't move and it doesn't make any noise. Um, but it was like £6 on Amazon. Like, you can't fucking go wrong with that shit. Like, I completely agree. I love tiny props and like little things that someone has like meticulously worked on. Like, like fucking Stuntman Bear. For those of you who don't know, Stuntman Bear is a legendary member of the bear community, like myself. Um, and he does these little models, these like little models of cars, like fucking the famous ones like General Lee, the A-Team van, so on and so forth. Like fucking what's the other one he did? I can't remember. He showed me one. Um, but I really appreciate stuff like that. I wouldn't be like a model train set guy or anything, or even a dollhouse guy, but like stuff like Warhammer and shit like that, like stuff that you can just like appreciate the work that's gone into it, like, and how small it is and shit. Like, although some of the models in Warhammer over the years have become fucking massive. Like, oh, R.I.P. Warhammer. For people like me, anyway. I mean, once the gay horde gets its claws into something, it's kind of like, well, they took the ticket. When bored, I made a few mini real wood rocking chairs for dolls' houses. That's awesome. Little rocking chairs. That's deadly. Did you like whittle them out of a block of wood, or like how did you go about the construction of that? Like, um, see if I could nice wood scraps. If it's religious, oh shit, my mouse just freaked out all over the place. If it's religious people, I'll get out of bed and put on a belt on my DMY boot and answer the door like I've been walking around in just that all morning. And like part of me was genuinely contemplating. It was like because I just like tore the whole costume off to answer the door, like um. But part of me was like, I should just answer the door like this. No, I should just answer the door and be like, yes. what? What is it? I just have been like just standing there with an Amazon package and just sees me dressed like that. Um uh it's like, oh god. Where's the bees? Is that how flowers shag? Jeez. I mean technically, I don't know. Like is the bee is the bee the catalyst and therefore technically kind of like the lover of the flower, or like the like some kind of sexual component, like, or is it just like, could you actually argue that's kind of like flower rape? I always thought that was funny the way they just like stick pollen to themselves. It's like seeing somebody walk into a supermarket without a fucking like a not and forgetting to bring bags or get a basket, and they just have all the stuff that they need just in their hands. That's how I see bees, like just like fucking slapping pollen to themselves and all, like like how funny would that be if they actually had like a little like pouch like kangaroos where they like stored all the pollen? Because like, do you not think that's hilarious that it just like sticks to their legs, to the hairs on their legs and shit? Like, it's fucking, like, it's actually hilarious. Like, when I look at like the engineering, um, when I look at the engineering behind like animals and insect, like it's especially insects, they boggle my mind. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're like the inversion of us. Like, they have a hard exterior and a soft interior and shit. Like, and like, imagine what would it feel to be like that? You know, like if something doesn't touch when the one of the bristly hairs on your like carapace like exterior, would you even feel it? Like, do you feel the wind? Do you feel air pressure? Do you feel anything? I mean, if you're encased in armor, you know, or do they still like have sensory stuff? Like, is that not why a lot of insects like have antenna and like little bristly hairs coming off their armor and stuff? Is so that they can interact with their environment and receive stimulus and information about temperature and texture and stuff like that. Like, Now I'm just rambling about life in general. Uh, what's a Fauci voice? Is that Fauci? Got your got your 10th booster shots. I was reading that. I was like, what is this nigga saying? Like, Spite Fairy. That's what it was. Like, the fucking. Oh, that's actually hilarious. Spite Fairy is so funny. Spite Fairy is a way cooler name than Sapphire Elf. I'd love to set up a hobby area when van lifing, for making tiny dioramas inside snow globes out of D&D Warhammer minis, all with lights and stuff. That sounds so cool. Imagine making like a Christmas themed Warhammer battle. Like it'd be fucking. It'd be so funny. Like you'd have like orcs with fucking Christmas tree decorations like all over them and shit, like tinsel and shit. Like you could have like a space marine with a melter rifle, and instead of like molten plasma coming out of it, it's just like a load of fucking tinsel and fucking like a lot of gold tinsel, gold and silver tinsel or something shit. Like it'd be fucking that'd be pretty funny. There's some fan made stuff out there for Warhammer that is genuinely like really high quality. But yeah, like I said, I mean the Mech Warrior community, the Warhammer community, they've all folded. They've all taken the ticket. Like they've all received criticism from the woke gay horde, whether online or like in their community or something, and then they've immediately kowtowed, and been like, "Oh, we're Warhammer's for everyone," and fucking like, no, no, it's not. Warhammer isn't for everyone. Warhammer is for people with honor, or at least it used to be. Uh, Life's too short to not answer the door as painting. Just for future reference, I am not Paintingu. This is Paintingu. I am Defender Bear or Defenderoo. I kind of just become Defenderoo. The result of me speaking Japu in all the streams is just like Griff. Griff basically just fucking speaks Japu all the time now, like texts in Japu. Every second word gets an ooh on the end of it. Like shit's hilarious. Um, the bee is just a condom because it carries the seed, it catches the seed. But that's not a good analogy, I don't think, because like that's like like a condom is to prevent insemination, whereas like a bee's, you know, well, like it's an inadvertent insemination, isn't it? Because a bee is there for itself. A bee is like gotta get the like gotta get the pollen, gotta get the pollen, like for itself, for its own. It has its own agenda, but it inadvertently spreads uh, the seeds and like allows flowers to bloom and stuff like that, like so, like and to propagate. But who knows? Maybe they're lying about that shit too. Maybe we don't need bees. All that fucking like, oh, the bees are dying. Oh no, the bees. We need to make fucking fake bees. like, like that could be. Like there's that sounds like doesn't that sound like a problem reaction solution? You know, like people would have like if they'd have just turned around immediately and been like, "Here, look, we have this cool idea where we're going to make tiny mechanical insects, like millions of them, and they're going to be like computer programmed and stuff like that, and like they're going to be all over the fucking bushes and the trees and the plants and the flowers, and like they're going to be in your environment, and there's going to be millions of them and all this shit." If they just said that, people would be like, "No, don't do that." Like fucking. Well, then we'll need to make like some kind of EMP weaponry or some shit because like that's ridiculous. Like, and so they like immediately are like, oh no, the bees are dying. Oh, now we have to make fake bees. That's the only way to solve that problem is to make fake bees. Green orcs with red armor, red make go fast, so Xmas perfect. Like, the orc lore from Warhammer 40k is legit some of the funniest shit you'll ever fucking read in your life. Orcs from Warhammer 40k have like a unique special ability where if they genuinely believe something, then it like magically happens. So like their guns they never have to reload their guns. If they paint something red, it'll go quicker. If they paint something yellow, it'll like have a bigger explosion, or it'll be more effective, like in a firearms properties sense. It'll be more of an effective firearm. Like some of the shit is so funny. Like purple makes them invisible. Like it's Warhammer. Just read up on like the lore behind the orcs in Warhammer 40k, and it is so fucking funny. Whoever came up with it is a genius. It's a chuckle a minute. Like uh, new 3D printed fan stuff now is going to kill off Wizards of the Coast. They're too expensive commercially, and prices us all out. Yeah, like I've known a few. Like I thought that was very interesting. Like there was actually a former bear who was like, "Oh yeah, I 3D print. I get the schematics off the internet, and I 3D print my own models. It's way cheaper." And I was like, "Yeah, that makes so much sense. All this 3D printing stuff. Why wouldn't you just 3D print all these things?" Like, but then you get into the whole. It does undercut and ultimately destroy the business of making models. Now you'd also have the companies who are smart about it and they're like, oh, okay, everybody's using 3D printers to fucking undercut our market. Why don't we get like 10 really high quality because they have the money at the time and they're the big hitters. Why don't they get like 10 fucking really high quality 3D printers and like compete in that sense, like. It is fascinating to see how markets evolve because of like a combination of what the consumer wants and how the consumer behaves versus how the seller is trying to make a profit and why and all this shit like economics and marketing and commerce in general is a fascinating fucking subject to get involved in. Well, not to get involved in my opinion, more like to study briefly occasionally. The like business talk and like finances and marketing, like anything Jewy, I cannot fucking stand. To my detriment. I'd probably have way more money right now if I was better at selling myself like a cheap whore. Um, but I'm not. Like I have too much like I have this weird combination of like self-respect and like a sense of personal dignity. Um, but at the same time, I couldn't give a fuck. you know, like I couldn't give a fuck what other people think of me. But if I think something like, if I feel shame or guilt or any of those things, I'm like, fuck, I'm wrong. Shit. Like, but if someone else is like, you're a horrible person, that's this morning was hilarious, right? I seen this, I don't know if you've seen this, but, so in the UK, welcome to Paintingu, Sleepy House, paint, straight in, paint, not yet. I'm ranting. Um, fucking so the UK um have just brought in this thing where teachers don't have to use pronouns. They're like bringing in legislation where teachers are not held accountable for like they're not going to be forced or anything to use pronouns for the kids and stuff, right? And I read that and I was like, good, like that's the wise thing to do. Like like, obviously they're going to make that decision because you cannot force a well, if they tried to, it would have been a shit show and they know it. That's why they're pulling out, like. Um, but I was in the comments and then I seen some disgusting cunt. Um, some bitch. I'm not gonna name names, like, do you know what I mean? Like, but this fucking like absolute whore, this preacher, um, says, and it has 1,073 likes. Like, of course it does. Like, so the real is, breaking news: teachers aren't going to be forced to use fucking pronouns, all this shit, and like most of the people are like, yeah, fucking right, like, but this cunt, statistically, using chosen pronouns prevents suicide. As an educator, this is disgusting. And there's like 157 replies to her, right? And I didn't even read any of the replies. I just instantly replied myself. And I was like, what's disgusting is that people like you exist. Change careers. That will probably save lives. Um, and like within 15 minutes or something, like I got a like on that, and then she replied, and she said, "So articulate, well done." Clapping hands, crying face, like crying, crying, laughing face, like. And I just like, I like being honest. I prefer to be honest, and I know that the meta consequences of what I'm about to say are probably not the long term solution to things like this. Because I agree, Owen, you can't just kill them all, because then a lot of them get the advantage of having a victim narrative that they can play to others or whatever. But cunts like that at least deserve to be just like beaten in public. Like, I swear to fucking God that I, just like Owen and a lot of people, I'm like really starting to appreciate the Muslim point of view towards things, where it's like, if you've like repeatedly stolen, it's like wham, now you don't have it, now you've only got one arm. You know, you keep fucking up, you won't have any arms. You keep fucking up, you'll have no arms and one leg, and you'll be like hobbling around, fucking like begging and shit. Like, you keep fucking up, there's going to get to a point where we take your head. You know, and it's like, because we have a society that allows preachers like that on the internet, and allows, like as an educator, like, you can just, when you're reading the comment, you can discern almost immediately what kind of vacated fucking cunt that bitch is. And like, I don't even want to refer to her as like a woman or a female. I'm just going to use derogatory terms like cunt, bitch, preacher, you know, vessel, empty vessel, because that's all she is to me. I believe that to be the truth. If you're gonna fucking defend the shit that's been going on in schools as an educator, you know, which is basically the same thing as saying, as a professional fucking propagandist and brainwasher of children, as a professional lying, ignorant fool, as a professional fucking hedonist, as a professional fucking destroyer of children's futures, like, you know what I mean? Like, I fucking, to think that there are, like, it's supposed to be women who are, like, women are supposed to be close to the kids, around the kids more, bringing the kids up, raising them, telling them right from wrong until they get to a certain age, and then they're around the father more, they're around men more if they're male. If they're female, they're around the women even more. They start learning womanly things, womanly things, ladylike, how to be a lady, all these how to take care of their own sons or whatever. Like, all these women now, obviously not all, but like, you have such a large portion of the female population now that if I had any fucking say in the matter, I would beat the fuck out of them in public repeatedly. Anytime they said anything like that, anytime they behaved in a matter like, well, as an educator, I think all this like LGBT fucking HDTV fucking shit is great for all. Like, anyone engaging in that fucking behavior should, like, personally, I want to fucking hang them. Whatever about prison, I want to fucking hear them burnt alive, like, because I've had it with this shit. I really have had it with this shit. But I get, like, I will admit that I'm I'm probably not, like, I shouldn't be the one making those decisions because I have a violent reaction to this horrific, set of behaviors. Um, which is why I'm like, yeah, you should probably just beat the shit out of them, like, what's like, is it really like, what's worse? Clown World and the consequence, like little boys getting their penises cut off in the name of tolerance and equality and understanding and all this inverted fucking psychotic bollocks, or taking action and, like, physically getting a hold of the people spreading that propaganda, and whatever about doing what I want to do to them, but just taking them out in public and recording the whole thing in front of people and just whipping them viciously, beating the fuck out of them violently. And people would have, like, I know a vast amount of the population would have a sense of about goddamn time. It's about goddamn time that someone actually did something. Because they get to do shit all the time. They get away with doing shit all the fucking time. What do? We detach, become independent, build our own things, so on and so forth. These are all excellent avenues of tactical, wise choices. These are excellent decisions. However, there comes a point where, like, their chaotic filth spills over to such a degree where I start to feel like fucking Rorschach out of fucking Watchmen, and I just want to fucking just grab those, like, little Bo Peep hook things, the shepherd's hook things. I just want to pull these people out of their fucking houses one by one and just murder them on the spot. But have it be witnessed by people who witnessed what their behavior was. Don't just do it randomly and record it. Then it just looks like a fucking murder scene. But, like, have the people who witness their behavior also witness the consequences of their behavior. Because that's what's not happening. These people get away with this shit all the time, and they've been getting away with it for fucking years. And yes, a way to combat it, or a way to um, ultimately defeat it in a meta sense, is to behave like we behave in the bear community, to create a community similar to the bear community, a morally high moral standard, so on and so forth. And, like, that works. Like, I don't disagree with that at all. But what do you do about when their filth gets to such a degree that, like, you cannot detach. You can't. You If you're Indian, like, you follow the adage of, like, bloom where you're planted, or, like, fucking, be local and act locally and stuff. Like, these are also all things I thoroughly agree with. Like, so what happens when you have corruption locally? I mean, you could go with banishment, you could go with exile and stuff like that. Like, but then, are you not burdening another community with their filth by, just being like, oh, just get the fuck out of here? Like, is there not examples in nature of, like, how a group deals with a problem? Now, I know that's a dangerous territory to get into too, because, like, then you're talking about, like, for the group and what's good for the group, and, fucking the good of the many over the good of the few and all. Like, isn't that a fucking Vulcan thing and shit? Like, that can get very dark very quickly. Also, um, who's this nigga? Iron Man Baru, welcome to Paintingu. The elf goes by many names. Uh, you comment so much, it's hard to keep up, bro. You should write a book or some shit. Like, watch, you're gonna comment that you have written like 3 books. Jesus, you were in a car crash? After my car crash and only on light physical duties from now on, I'd actually love to be a teacher. When my father passed away, my male teachers were fantastic role models to me. They were fantastic role models to you. And I have a lot of patience for teaching kids. Yeah, like one of the reasons why stuff like that elicits such a visceral response out of me is because like I'm one of those people that like I'll look at kids and I'd be like, they're just kids. They're they know nothing. They're totally innocent. And for aware adults to be around children and to be like doing immoral shit to them is just one of the most, if not the like top three easily fucked up things that can happen in our existence as human beings. Like, I mean, I just say, and it's even like for me, it's even worse when it's a female doing it. I think that's why I like actually felt like such a desire to respond to that cunt on Instagram because I was just like, you're a female and you're a teacher and you peddle poison like whatever about prison immediately. No, I would fucking kill you. Like if I was the one, if I was the authority in place to dole out justice in that scenario, I would pull that cunt out of her house and light her on fire in front of fucking everyone. Like what a fucking lunatic. As an educator, it's just I'm just going to spout statistics and fucking continue to brainwash the children. Like, I wonder if she has her own children. Like, I don't like. It's fucking. That would almost be worse. Like, the fact that there are the fact that there are females, fucking with the kids, even if they don't like. I have compassion for someone. I would have and do have compassion for someone, especially a female who is totally ignorant and genuinely believes all this propagandist fucking brainwashing shit and like goes into work and she's like, great with the kids, lovely to the kids, is just a fucking saint to the kids, but peddles poison because that's her job, you know, and she doesn't know any better. However, I find that to be kind of an oxymoron. I find that to be too much of a contradiction to even make sense. Because if your goal in life is a desire, if your desire in life is to educate children, is to help children grow up to be like functioning fucking adults, right? Then what in God's name are you doing teaching them that sodomy is normal? That getting your penis removed surgically is normal, that feeling like you are, like, despite the reality of life, if you feel like the opposite sex, that's normal. Like, it's like, because I know full well that the majority of the people, male or female, involved, they know in their heart of hearts that what they're doing to the kids, that what they're doing to get a paycheck, that what they're reading to the kids, what they're getting the kids to read, what they're getting the kids to draw diagrams of, or whatever. Like, like the stuff they're saying to the kids, and it's not just about the gay stuff. Like teaching them that they have privilege because they're white. Like, is that not almost worse than teaching them that like because they're black that their life is going to be more difficult? You know, or because you're white, your life's going to be easier. What the fuck? like, like the fundamental retardery to think that because of the pigment of my skin, I naturally and like inherently just possess uh privilege. Like, How am I privileged? Oh, well, like, you can afford to do these things and stuff like that because you're white. Like, what in God's fucking name? Like, the reason, like, it is like the main reason why communities like this exist is because it has gotten so bad out there that we have been forced to basically congregate on the internet and then subsequently congregate in real life. You meet people online, you're like, oh, no way, like, you're okay. So where do you live? Oh, I'm about, like, I'm the other side of the island, boss. Like, do you know what I mean? Or like, I'm in a different country and all this shit. Like, that's why they're trying to get a stranglehold on the internet because they don't want people like communicating over the internet in a fucking positive manner and like being able to like build up a competitive society, like, because that is what we're doing. We're in a culture war. We're competing. We're competing for reality. I know, like, people like us know that, like, reality just is reality, and, like, eventually their lies are going to catch up with them and it'll all come burning down like a house of cards. But in the meantime, we have to deal with this shit. And I do struggle. I struggle with the desire to just kill all of them, you know? And that's something that I have to discipline within myself, you know? But it's not wrong, on many levels. It's not like I should feel like that. You all should feel like that, especially the males. That's an instinctual, like, defensive mechanism where it's like, no, you don't touch the fucking kids. You like stay away from like that's a visceral thing that like men are supposed to have, you know? And for people to attempt to train men to be soft, to be tolerant, to be accepting of abhorrent behavior, of like lying to children. Like, do you mean like I don't even like when I found out at a young age when I found out Santa Claus, like when I when I Sherlock Holmes the fuck out of the Santa Claus situation when I was like fucking 8 or some shit. I was like I was devastated in so many ways. I was like I sat there multiple times. I remember being like, hold on, so everyone's just like so you find yourself around other children who are like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this from Santi," and there's a voice in my head being like, "No, you're fucking not, bitch." But you don't want to ruin people's shit and all, like, and how fucked up is that? You have this inclination to, you know, because you don't want to cause harm physically or emotionally to people in your environment that you care about, or even strangers. You find yourself rationalizing going along with lies. I find this fascinating. I have often pondered the need for certain deceptions because I have logically, I've come to the conclusion. I do believe, like I said, I think I said it yesterday. I believe that some evils are necessary. Like, evil in general is like necessary. You know, I think that's true. I think evil is necessary. But then you create this spectrum where it's like, what kind, like, how much evil and what context and all, like, what evil should you tolerate because it's good to tolerate that kind of evil because it inspires and it instills, it can be a catalyst for growth, you know. But then you look at the environment we're living in and it's like, okay, so what evil are we tolerating and why? Like, how much evil are we tolerating and why? But then you also get to the argument of like, what can you actually do in your environment? Like, and that is why I love being in this community, and I completely agree with Owen. The stuff that you can directly affect tangibly and control in your own life is the best way to, you know, affect the meta change. Because if all of us start doing it in our own lives, then it, has a ripple effect, so on and so forth. But then in that same light, you could like in that same context, you could make the argument that like well, why aren't men in the United States of America where you have you like you are armed, and you have like the supposed these amendments and these like the freedom of this and the, like you can shoot someone that comes onto your property and stuff like I'm surprised there isn't like people in the United States of America making the argument that like, all right, well, if you're in America, you're like you're on my land because I'm an American. I'm an American citizen, like So if you're gonna behave like this, I'm just gonna fucking shoot you, you know. And like, I'm genuinely surprised it hasn't kicked off Civil War style yet, like because the shit that's going on. And now I know you can look up stuff, and there are like there's a lot of shit that you don't see or hear about because the media is in control of the narrative currently. So if you really want to see what's going on in a lot of ways, you have to go looking, you know. And most of the time, I don't think you should even do that. I don't think you should spend your time. There's so many better ways to spend your time than putting effort into looking into hell. Well, there's so many better ways to spend your time. For example, LARPing as a samurai painter on the internet. Obviously, a car crash is pretty fucking bad if it like fucked you up. Like, what did you do? Fuck up your spine? Two things human can watch ad nauseum since caveman times without realizing it is fire at night and is watching kids at play. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that recently as well. Might have actually been you that said that. Yeah, like kids playing is hilarious because like they're just like they're totally in their imagination and they don't give a fuck, And I remember being like that. Like, I remember spending hours just on the landing upstairs. Fucking, you go up, like, I don't know what it's called in other countries, because there's like different terms for things, like, but the area that leads off into all the other rooms, it's like the hallway upstairs, like, we call it the landing area. But it's like nothing lands on the landing. Like, do you know what I mean? We don't have fucking like the occasional owl or albatross that delivers a package to the center of the. Anyway, um, where what was I going with that? I can't even fucking remember. Oh yes, I remember. Like I used to spend hours as a child, just when we first moved into that house. I'd spend hours on the landing just outside my room, uh, slaying demons that weren't even there. With toy swords. I'd be talking to them, monologuing. Doing the thing from movies where like the bad guy and the good guy talk for 10 minutes before they fight. Like there was often times like where I would be defeated and I would be like enacting a death scene, and my mother would like just come up the stairs with a laundry basket or something and just be like, "What are you doing?" I had so many moments like that where I was like deep in theatrical, like my own theatrical entertainment purely from toys and imagination. And like my sister would walk along, or like fucking one of my parents would enter the room, and I would have such a feeling of shame and embarrassment because I'm like doing voices and stuff, like I had a I had a moment. I think I was 14 years of age. I think I was 14. I think I remember saying this at 14. And I asked my dad one day, I was like, "Do you think it's immature of me that I still play with Legos?" Like I had a massive Lego collection, and I used to like set them up and like fucking I customized them, I painted them myself, like like sand got sandpaper and like took the original paint off and like put chrome on instead and shit. Like I was big into like setting up battle scenes and like putting them in certain positions and coming up with storylines and all this stuff, like, and playing out my own like you know fucking feature length movies with toys and shit. Like, and I remember turning around to my dad one day. I was like, "Do you think I'm too old to do this?" And I don't like. I think it was the right way to answer that question as a father, at least at the time, anyway. Um, but he said, "Do you?" He was like, "Do you think you're too old to play with those things?" And I was like, "Well, not really. I mean, like, fucking, like, I'm not being childlike. I'm just entertaining myself with toys. Don't grown ups do that? Don't grown ups still play with like model airplanes and shit? No, like, and like, it was funny to see that, like, that look in his eye, that interaction between the two of us, where like almost an acknowledgement that I was like, really starting to grow up and become self aware, where I was questioning if my behavior was right or not. But I was questioning whether my behavior was right or not based on you know, the standard that other people set, you know? And I quickly lost that, I think. Like, well, not that I even had it at the time. Like, I think that's why I was questioning it. I never understood why I had to act like everyone else. I always found that incredibly irrational. I was like, you know, if we all act the same, then isn't that kind of like animalistic? You know, if we all wear the same clothes, speak the same way, do the same things, like, and then are told to like pick a profession, you know. God, I've been ranting for a long time now. I had a lot on my mind this morning. I really did. Didn't get a lot of sleep. I was up until fucking 5 o'clock in the morning designing the new symmetrical design. And then I think I woke up at around 11. But when you like, when you can feel it when you didn't get enough REM sleep. Like, you rested, you know. But I notice it especially when I don't remember dreaming. When I don't remember like portions of my, like, at least a bit of my dream quite vividly, I feel like I didn't get a good night's sleep. And yeah, I don't even remember dreaming last night at all. Finally fell asleep around fucking 5, half 5, just sitting in the bed, just like putting ink on paper, just like, oh, I'll keep going till I'm finished this and all. Like, and then I finished it, and then almost immediately fucking just passed out. Oh god! Like, I went to bed at fucking like 11 o'clock. I find that so frustrating when you're trying to be, you know, a good boy. You're trying to be a good boy, and you're like, right, I've got all my work done. I've eaten right. I've got a workout in. I've cleaned up a bit around the house and all. It's time to go to bed at a semi decent, reasonable hour, like, at least before midnight. So that I can still get 8 hours sleep and wake up at like 7. Nice and early. Get a full day in, like. You can just lying there in the bed, just like staring at the ceiling and be like, why can't I sleep? Fuck! But at least I was productive. At least I didn't just lie there all night watching Netflix, fucking playing video games, or like sitting there smoking, drinking tea or something. Like, I did something. And I try to do that as often as possible. I try to, those days where like, or those nights rather, where I just can't sleep. My mind is just racing with all these things, like whether it be shit happening in my life or stuff happening in my environment, like, or whatever. And you're just thinking about shit, like. And I have this like weird problem where like I almost like I find it hard to focus, and then I manage to focus, and then I'm focusing so much on something that I fucking like a hyper focus to the point where I can't not think about it. Very frustrating. Uh, I'm for the stocks today. And a quality stoning. Yeah, like, I think putting them in a stock and then like hitting them with like, I'd go with apples. I wouldn't go with tomatoes. I'd dole out apples. Apples are nice and hard. But if you throw them hard enough, they still like break up on impact. So it wouldn't be like you're throwing stones at them. Like you wouldn't kill them. Like I genuinely like know that like my inclination to be murderously violent isn't a good thing. Do you know what I mean? And I shouldn't be in charge. You know, like, but I won't accept, nor will I admit the falsity that it's solely a bad thing, because it's not a bad thing that I have that kind of reaction to that kind of shit. But it is a slight overreaction. You know. And I think the only reason that my slight overreaction exists in the first place is because of the level of fucking shit we've been putting up with for the amount of time we've been putting up with it. Like when I caught up on Owen's stream from yesterday, this morning, I what did he say? He said it was like it hasn't been like this forever. Like it's only about 10 years ago, and he's dead right. Like, do you know what I mean? Like around 2006, 7, maybe 10. I was still regularly watching Comedy Central and stuff like that and laughing, being like, that shit's hilarious. Like, you were still allowed to be edgy, you were still allowed to like hit, like, just kind of jab the speed bag of truth occasionally, and that dispelled a lot of trauma and stress and shit. That's what comedy's for. And it's been nigh on a decade now where, like, in the public sphere, you cannot speak honestly. And that destroys everything. It really like it's been a significant uptick in the level of uh the level of latent aggression. Like I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that has that chomping at the bit feeling in my soul, where it's like, these fuckers have to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to, on a high, like, if you're holding yourself to a high moral standard, how do you deal with such immorality? It is very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Like, yes, like I said, growing our own food, having a fucking community, having a high moral standard, these things are all wonderful. The bear community is fucking crushing, and they're not the only community doing that, which is fucking awesome. That means that, given another 10 years, we could see a situation where there's just a massive schism in the global community, where you have a large portion of the population that is like sticking together and like has a sense of honor and understanding and like still knows how to have fun, but we're not a bunch of fucking lunatics. And then you have the others who are just fucking gone in the head and they're just spiraling out of control, and it's only a matter of time before it all burns down to the ground. I see that happening simultaneously. Like, you know what I mean? It is fascinating to see that. Like, so I do understand that, like, and I will admit that quite often it is just me who has to just like grin and bear it, just like everyone else. But like I said, I know I'm not alone in this. Where like there is a part of a lot of us that wants to kick off, but knows that we shouldn't, unless there's no other option. You know, you only unsheathe your sword when absolutely necessary, when there is no other option. You know, and we're not there yet. And hopefully we don't get there. I would rather if we didn't get there. I don't want to see a lot of fucking people murdered for any reason. Like, do you know what I mean? It's horrific. Like, taking another life is not easy, and it takes a toll on you. And I'm not speaking from experience, but I'm not stupid. You can see, you can see what it does to people, taking a life, whether you're justified in it or not. It has an effect on one's soul. Hopefully, it doesn't get to that stage. Uh, who's crushing space? Who's this? Shamu on me. Hee hee. I'm on alt account. Flat Earth male Dave Weiss. Flat Earth male. Going for the kids like that is going to cost them dear. Yeah, like if they really want to sell the degen. Sex workers do TikTok saying how great it is, but in reality, every one of them brainwashed. Oh God, that's disgusting. That's fucking disgusting. Like even in my fucking full fledged like regularly watching porn, regularly fucking, jacking off, like even then I would see some thumbnails and I would just like, "Ugh!" like I would have like a visceral reaction. Like you just see some thumbnails things and you're like, oh fuck. Like and it didn't even need to be like, tranny stuff or gay stuff. You could have like a heterosexual situation, but it's still just so degenerate. Like, and it's just looking back on it now. It's really easy to see how I fell into it and how most people fall into it and how most people stay in it and think it's totally normal. Like so many behaviors, so many habits, so many actions that we take every fucking day for years now. Most people, like, you do it without thinking, but if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes or less, you would be like, good God, what the fuck am I doing? You know? And I think that is going to come. I think there's going to come a time where people just go, oh my God. Because, like, a lot of us have done that already. But I think people aren't desperate enough. People aren't in enough pain for them to genuinely desire change on mass, because like Owen's right, they have their lollipops in their fancy pants. They have their lollipops in their fancy pants, so why would they bother? Why would they? I do. I understand and comprehend why and how we got here, but that doesn't change it being really fucked up. Uh, been chilling, draining this afternoon, making spicy chicken carcass stock. Ooh, chicken stock. I might try hot canning it for pantry. Oh, I'd love a pantry full of like, you know, homemade canned goods and jars of things like fermented goods that last like fucking years and shit like that. I'd love a fucking pantry full of that stuff. Elf wants a windmill on my farm so people can grind anything they want. Also have it power my foot. Like, I mean, grind anything you want sexually or like materially, because that sounds just wrong. I want a windmill on my farm so people can grind whatever they want. I want a utopia-like place where people can come and twerk like for as long as they desire. I get it though. You want a windmill powered mill that like grinds shit up. Like that's cool. I like anytime I've seen like a mill that's like this, built onto a house that like that's beside a river and shit, or like a windmill and stuff like that. Like I'd fucking love to live in a house like that. Because I love the feel and sound and visuals of old school engineering. Just like big wooden posts with like big metal clamps and like fucking washers and stuff that like lead off into like just the mechanics of seeing everything move and like hear it move and all this stuff, like running water and like the creaking of wood in a windmill and stuff like that, like especially the old school ones, like, and then seeing something like grain or rice or nuts or something, like whatever you're like grinding down, or like fucking pine needles, I don't fucking know, like I got obsessed for a while watching these things on TikTok, where it's just these Chinese dudes like making like doing handmade shit, and like some of the shit's fucking awesome. It really is. Like I like anything from just like candles to fucking incense like sticks to um how to make ink. The way the Japs make ink is so fucking cool. Like it's like what Elf was saying about like watching fire or children play. Like I could just sit there and watch them make ink all day. Like, it's so cool. I don't have to use my sword. My serfs are bigger and better armed than me. You want to be the type of king that just goes, Hans, kill him. Like, Brother Godric, dispense of this fool. Like, I realized I was watching degenerate normie shit online, porn wise, 3 years ago. Now I just write short romance fantasy stories. So, like, are you ever gonna get away from that, or do you think that, like, do you think you'll always be like that, where you have some kind of like sexual stimulus? And like, that's a genuine question. Like, I'm just like curious. Derek Enlundu, welcome to Paintingu. Well, it's more like fire fucking painting side chatu. I'm in a ranty mood this morning. Um, because I've always wondered about stuff like that, like like alcoholics and shit. Like do they still like they're never gonna drink again, or do they like replace it with something else? Or like these addictions, like like is it possible to truly defeat an addiction and to like completely heal from it? Like, or is there always going to be some part of you that is addicted to something? You know, that type of stuff fascinates me because there's a few things like in my life that like I just don't do anymore, like ever. And part of me is like, you know, is that a good thing that I'm able to just like just stop shit, or am I actually doing it wrong? And in a weird way, am I causing myself more stress and harm because I'm like straight up just removing stimulus instead of replacing it with a positive stimulus? I don't know. Elf paladin. You may have my swords I make for you, but the lives that it takes belong to me. Oh god. Oh, I'm starting to feel sick again. All this talking has made me leak. Fucking, like, do you ever get that where like you're not really like I'm not all bummed up, like I don't sound really fluey, but I can just feel in the very back of my sinuses, I can just feel a slow drip. It's like mucus just gradually, like in a glacier-like fashion, just gradually slipping down the back of my nose, like like near your gag center reflex, where I'm just like, like, oh, right. Let's get this show on the road. Been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. Just bitching about shit. I've been a BDSM dummy in a group before in real life. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, and in hindsight, I feel brainwashed. I think I'm cured. Yeah, like stuff like that has never appealed to me, but I kind of understand how it could appeal to people. Like that sense of freedom and stuff like that, where like, oh, I could just do whatever I want, and like people are going to accept it, and they're going to do whatever they want and shit. Like, but like, um, do you remember that movie that not Borat? What was the other one? Uh, Bruno. That's what it was called, wasn't it? With Sacha Baron Cohen was that like gay journalist or some shit. Oh, excuse me. And he goes to the swingers party, and there's some like dominatrix bitch there, and she's like, get on your knees and suck my spike, bitch. Like, I couldn't stop laughing at that when he like bailed out the window to get away from her and all. Like, um, those kind of meetups, like where they all put their keys and they just like fuck each other's wives, or like, or even if it's just like a singles thing, that stuff has always really like freaked me out and made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I think it's because like I'm quite possessive, um, but not in a creepy way, in a protector way. So maybe I'm not maybe I'm not possessive. Maybe I'm just very uh, protector orientated or something. Like I've always, if I'm engaged in a relationship with a female, there is a part of me that's like, she's mine, but not like in an object sense, in like a responsibility sense. I'm engaging in, a reciprocal behavior with this female. The least I could do is treat her well, protect her, and, keep her from harm in various ways and stuff like that. Like, so I get very protector vibey, you know, which is funny because I ended up being called Defender Bear, which is also funny because I couldn't even defend my current female from a chip. if you've if you've never done the Heimlich maneuver on someone and then you all of a sudden have to perform the Heimlich maneuver on someone in front of a load of people, and that was a hilarious situation. Like it was and it wasn't. Like we laugh about it now because like it was a mad situation. But like fucking hell, like I still give the female shit about that. Where like every time she's eating chips, I'm like, careful now. I'm not gonna try and do the Heimlich on you this time. I'm just gonna throw it straight right into your fucking solar plex. It's just, like, oh god. Um, where was I? Shirley Delta Beru, welcome to a paintingu. Oh, I signed in with the wrong account. Now you know my real name. Oh boy. Hold on, were you crushing pussy? Well, like, man, I swear to God, I thought I was a bit of a degenerate. But between Moon Jazz and a few of the other bears that I've fucking interacted with, I'm like, that's a fucking decorum, please. Like, you try and not make it so obvious that you watched a shit ton of porn for a long time. Like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus Christ. I prefer just to be a corny romantic dag. I'm quite corny and romantic. I will confess I am quite the romantic. I'm a bit cringe, when it comes to like the romantic stuff where like if I do find myself in the mood to be romantic, it can be quite cheesy, you know. But that's because I think cheesy stuff is funny, Like, but like, and I've no shame in it really. Like I enjoy being the way I am with females because like I've always gotten quite a good like pretty like 95% of the time I've gotten like a positive response from my like tongue in cheek cheesy vibe. Like there's been once or twice where I got accused of being a bit of a creep or some shit like that. Like, but it was usually by just fuck bitches. Like, do you know what I mean? Like proper hunts, like who just have no appreciation for like nuanced behavior. Like I've often like had that thought where people who are like nasty and mean and like critical of someone behaving like I was in certain situations. I'd be theatrical or extroverted or make a lot of people laugh. So attention is on me for 5 minutes or something like that. Like you have these people who immediately resent you for being like open and outgoing and funny and like genuine, honest, compassionate, like intelligent, like capable of holding long form conversation and articulating my feelings accurately. Yeah, people just like you rub people up the wrong way immediately in the weirdest ways by just being you. Like and like people will be them around me, and like I find myself like quite compassionate most of the time. I have a large uh I have a large amount of gray area for people because I know how fucked up the world is, and I know how fucked up people can like end up being but weren't originally. And like still inside you somewhere there is true honorable, you know, that spark of divinity like lies in there somewhere still. But you're like you've just been through a lot of shit and you're bitter and like, all the like I've been there, like, you know what I mean? I went through about easily 5 years of like I was drinking heavily. I didn't give a fuck about anything. I was depressed out of my head. I was pissed off all the time. Um I didn't like my relationship with my female. I didn't like my relationship with my best friend. I didn't like my relationship with my family, apart from my sister. Me and her have always kind of just been like cool with each other, but almost like out of a sense of like mutual, like misery loves company kind of thing. It's like, well, it's at least we're not alone. It is funny having a sister who is like like just under a decade younger than me. Um, so watching her experiencing things that I experienced a long time ago and stuff like that, like I always find that fascinating. Uh, I just shagged a local girl on Friday night on the back of the high ace Toyota can for the first time. I even took my little stove and tea stuff and tub of shaken baked pancakes. Man, you like I'm not gonna like you must have some level of charisma to look the way you look and get laid. like, I watched your shout out of me on the fucking biochar thing and all like you look like a fucking junkie. Like you're funny. You're funny as fuck. Like you seem like a cool dude and all. Like, what? Like when I seen you, I was watching you. I was watching you with me missus. Right, me missus was sitting beside me. Like, and when you put your teeth, you put the glue on your teeth and put your teeth in. I was sitting there watching you, being like, "This guy's been through some shit." Like, did you lose your teeth in the car crash or the BDSM? I was like, oh no, that was my meth addiction. Like, are you like really skinny from the car crash? Or you're like really skinny with no teeth because of the meth addiction? Or you're really skinny and no teeth because you used to like, you used to do hardcore sex acts? Like, oh fuck. Your early life sounds fascinating. Um, oh, and you're on the list, by the way. You're on my notice board. The jar of Vegemite is. I've written it down. I won't forget. It will happen eventually. Um, nowhere my whole life, not a random. Well, that's okay. Like little camping trip. Just when I read shake and bake pancakes, that just made it. I had to get ready in like 15 minutes. You got a booty call? Oh, that's hilarious. I've been there, like, like years ago before I was in a long-term relationship with the female I'm currently with. I remember I was like seeing this I was seeing this bitch for not even a few months, just a few weeks or something, like, and it was like, come over now, and bring wine. you know and like as a man, like, you know what I mean, you're like, yes sir. Like, or yes ma'am, like whatever. Like, it's almost like there's no question, like, there's no hesitation, like just like hot bitch texts you being like, I like, yeah, come over, bring wine. I'm like fucking there, like, you know. Oh God, I had this one. There was this. I have to tell you this story. There was one time where I didn't even go on a date really. Like I met this older female on a night out. Like I was still like I think I was like 27, 28 maybe. And I went out and I had an interaction with a young one that was like in her mid 30s. And she was Brazilian. She was really cute, glasses, kind of like grunge chick, had that kind of like sexy secretary vibe, but like tattoos and like dreadlocks and stuff like that. Like, and she was foreign. Um, so like hit like the really good energy like immediately, and we're just in the smoking area like. And that was one of those times where like she like that's what she was like. She was just like, look, come over, like this is my address, blah blah, like And I went. I remember going over and being like really like like enthusiastic, like as you would be, you'd want as you would hope you would be. But within the first 15 minutes of like entering her apartment and sitting down and just like, interacting with each other and shit, like um she had a Bible. She had a Hebrew Bible on her table. And then an English Old Testament Bible, I think, and then like a copybook and like pens and highlighters and stuff and a laptop. And she started talking about like uh Christianity's a lie and like stuff that people like us would be like, oh yeah, gravy, like you'd think that I would find it fascinating to talk to this young one um about this kind of stuff, like, do you know what I mean? But like because of how she behaved leading up to that interaction, i.e., just telling me to come over and like blah blah. I was like, all right, so this bitch just you know wham bam, thank you, ma'am. But when I get there, she's like in deep theological mode, and like it just threw me immediately. It threw me off immediately. I was like, "Fuck this," like. And then about 10 minutes into the conversation, we were like drinking. We were like we were about halfway through a glass of wine each, right? And like she turned around and said something along that is like I'm paraphrasing here probably, but she said, "Oh, guys don't want to stick around; they just want to fuck me, and then they leave." And all. Yeah, I was sitting there going, like I didn't say this, but in my mind, I was like, "Isn't that why you wanted me to come? Like what, like what is this?" Like the long and the short of it was, I ended up getting up. Uh, I was probably there less than an hour total, right? I ended up getting up and walking out and like telling her like that I'm gonna go and all like and she was like, oh okay, and not a word of a lie. I was so eager and desperate to get out of that situation that I left my phone charger behind. I left my tobacco behind. I left an unopened bottle of wine behind, that I fucking paid for. And when I was leaving and she tried to hug me, I fist bumped her. I remember telling the lads later, and they fucking fell around the place laughing. Like she kind of went in for a hug. Like I'm in the doorway, leaving her apartment. Like, and I was like, okay, like like this is nice. Like I'll talk to you like later or whatever. And like I was just trying to be polite. I was just trying to be nice. Like so, I didn't want to like really hurt her feelings or offend her or anything. Like, and she like went in, like she put her hands out, like, and I just like fist bumped her and left. I was just like, yeah, cheers. Let's see you later. And there was like there was no sexiness left in the situation for me contextually. You know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, fuck this shit. She get like she just. I think in the space of 15 minutes, she gave me three major red flags that I was just like, I should not have come here. Yeah, like I friend zoned her like in the most horrible way. Like, I'm sure there's more horrible ways to friend zone a female, but like I literally just like see like yeah, cool. Like oh, it was so awkward. It was such a cringe experience. Like, but it like in retrospect, it's fucking hilarious. I just showed up and have no idea what's going on. Like that happens a lot on Painting Goo. Get used to it. Um, Gammas are triggered by envy. You can see them seething if they don't explode right off. Yeah, like I seen it in people when, like I was I just turned 19, or I was going 20 when I first started, first started like interacting with Wishy, my current female, who I've been with for like over 10 years, right? Since I was like on and off for about a couple of years in the beginning, and then long haul easily for like 10 years at this stage, anyway. But I was 19, and I think she just turned 16, right? So, and I was just out of school, and she was still in school, and a few of my friends were like calling me a cradle snatcher and all, and like making me out to be like a fucking like, oh look at you going for the young girls and all. I was like, you fucking hypocrites! Like I couldn't believe it. Like after witnessing some of the behavior out of them, and then the fact that like there was barely 3 years between me and this young one who had already had, sex with other males. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like that's the reality of life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she may not be of legal sexual age, but the reality of life is that she had sexual partners before that and stuff like that. And by the time she met me, so she like what the fuck, like and people are looking at me like I'm like some kind of creep or criminal, like, and I'm like, I'm just not, I'm just not lying about anything. I'm just being like, she likes me, I like her. It's not like she's fucking 12, like, and it's not like I'm fucking 25, like I was 18 a year ago. Like, what the fuck? And the reaction out of someone, you know? And like, and then when I reacted to be like, that's like, that's, uh, that's pretty fucked up what you're doing to me. Like, you're making me feel horrible. Like, and, and I'm happy, It's not like I'm in some kind of like weird fucking relationship. Like, you guys know the bitch, you know? And it was like, it was really fucked up for me to be made out to be a creep after like just like engaging in the same behavior that all of them were engaging in, you know? That's the thing that really gets up my wick is hypocrisy, you know? When someone engages in degenerate, fucking immoral, fucked up behavior, and then you do something that is comparably like not even close, and they criticize you as if they have the moral high ground. Those are the people that deserve a slap in the mouth and like taught how, like, who raised you. Do you know what I mean? Like, which is funny coming from me because I basically raised myself, you know? Father left when I was 14, and fucking my mother was like a pathological lying victim mess, like train wreck, She's been a receptionist for like her whole life. Like no like no understanding of like how to exist in the real world at all. Terrible with money, all this like all it was just like so bad. Like, and I basically raised myself. Like, so for me, someone like me, to have the awareness, the presence of mind to be like that is fucked up. You know, when they have like, uh, you know, their parents are still together. They've been married their whole lives. They have a big family. They have more money, live in a nicer house, both parents work, like all this stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I think is so funny about like, stereotypes and generalities is like, yeah, there's a lot of truth in them, but like there's always an exception to every rule. And like you can have someone who, from the outside, is like totally normal, totally standard wife, kids, dogs, like two cars, whatever, modern family, and from the outside they look totally G. And then you spend 5 minutes with them, and like their mannerisms, body language, tone of voice, attitude towards things, and general behavior. A lot of the time, you can immediately pick up on that. Like they're like when they're at home and the doors are closed, they're fucking psychopaths. You know, bunch of children trying to fucking like that. I think the vast majority of the population now suffers from arrested development. And like I suffer from a bit of arrested development in some aspects of my personality and like my like life experience and shit like that. Um, it's not like I am exempt from that. Like, but like so many people, wife, kids, job, mortgage, and they're a fucking child. You know, they're 40 years of age, but they're a fucking child. They have like and they're male. Like that's what like one of the most shocking things I've come across in recent years is how many males I look at. Like I know how childish I can be. I know how like I can be a bitch about things like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. Oh, I don't want to work out today. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I think I can be a pure little bitch when I do stuff like that. But when I look at other dudes with a job and kids and like a mortgage and like all these fucking things, and and I observe their behavior and I hear the things they say, and then these some of these people ask me for life advice, and I'm like, I thank God that I'm not them, because I'm like, that's a fucked up situation to be in. If you like speak to somebody like me, I'm 32 years of age, no children, trying to make a living out of my talent, essentially, and I seem to have a firmer grasp of reality than someone who has procreated with another human being and has like hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and they could be a manager in an office, so they're actually in charge of other human beings. Like I find that insane. You know, I thank God that I don't have children. I want children. I'd love to have kids. But like I can barely fucking function in myself right now. Like, do you mean like I have to create an environment suitable to raise children in. I have to create a version of myself responsible, disciplined enough, and worthy of having children. You know, if I had a kid with the female now, it would scare the fuck out of me. I'd be like, fuck, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. You know, And I know there's an argument of like, oh, if you think that, then you'll never be ready. But like, no, like I actually am like maybe I'm being arrogant, but like I think once I start making a steady income out of all this, which I don't think is going to be too much longer, maybe a year, maybe two. I mean, I've made decent money so far, considering, and that's where I'm thinking. I'm like, once I do that, like I'd be comfortable. I'd be comfortable in the knowledge of like, well, at least I can buy the stuff that the kid needs and pay for things, and like if the birth goes wrong and I have to like fucking uh you know get the female to a hospital or some shit like that, that I have the resources available to do that, you know but right now I don't. you know and like I think it's important to be honest with yourself and shit like that. Like it's like, if you like, I can just about take care of myself, you know so to think that I could like raise a child, take care of it, like to be responsible for another human being's life right now. That, in my opinion, would be incredibly arrogant of me, you know. But soon, definitely, I mean, every time I see kids now in the shop and stuff with their like parents, when you just see a kid in the trolley, just sitting in the trolley in the shopping cart, whatever you guys call them, we call them trolleys. But you know, you just see a baby just in the little seat in the front, like when you're going around the shops, like, and the parent is like picking up items and putting them in the thing, whatever, and the kids just like fucking like, do you know what I mean? Like just in their own zone, like playing with something, laughing, and then like I'll walk by or something, and then they'll like make eye contact with me and like laugh and giggle and shit. Like sometimes that makes my whole day, you know, and it's not even my kid, like I could be in a bad mood, and then like a kid will just like look at me and giggle, and I'm just like, ah, you know, like I can't, like it dissolves all the negative feelings in negative thoughts in my mind at that moment because I'm like, you're just happy to be alive, you're just happy to be here, aren't you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I relate to that. Like, I relate to that. Like, I'm just fucking happy to be here now. Like, uh, magic destiny brought me here. I think you're 100% correct with that. Like, I think the gods brought you to me, little Elfu. Um, I know every tough biker in the pub in the first 10 minutes. If people fuck with Elf, bigger people will stand in the way after. Yeah, like, that's it's it's always like it's always interesting to see how like people will defend you. Do you know, like the whole thing of like, defending the weak or the defenseless, like, like sticking up for those who cannot defend themselves and stuff, like obviously if like a fucking 6'2", 280 odd pound fucking muscle bound freak wanted to pick you up and rip you apart, there's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it in your physical condition. But you're such a cool dude and have good relationships with other people and all that you don't need to defend yourself. Other people would defend you, in your stead, you know. And someone could easily argue that that's like, kind of a Jewy thing to do. It's like, oh, I don't need people to. Must be nice to not have to defend yourself. But it's like that's a natural cohesion, you know. That, like, I find that like symbiotic relationships like that, like, yeah, reciprocal relationships like that in a community, big or small, are what make a community. You know, just like when people go into the bear saloon on Owen Stream and like, everybody knows your bear name, like, and everybody's like, hey, what's up, and hanging out and shit. Like, and if somebody starts some shit or says something, like, you have all these other people coming and be like, shut your mouth, fucking, like, fuck off, like, um, that's what a community's supposed to be like, you know. It's supposed to be like everybody has a character and like everybody, um, like you have your public persona, your reputation, and everybody like holds you to that standard and stuff. Like it's important, you know. I think that's why like I think that's why the idea of anonymity on the internet was so tempting, because you basically had all these freaks who couldn't exist in the real world, and they just went online and they're like, oh, you don't know what I'm really like, you know. I'm the total opposite of that. I grew up in the 90s, so I grew up in kind of like the last vestige of, you know, you get up, you go out with your friends, you're out all day, you're fucking, going through uh like fucking old building sites and stuff, abandoned houses, like, places that like if your parents witnessed you go into, they'd be like, what are you doing? You're gonna hurt yourself or some shit. But they only find out when you get home later, like that you've been rolling around in the muck in places you're not supposed to be in and shit like that. Like, so we still got that. My generation, for a lot of it, like, still got that sense of community and like normal bullying and like growing up fairly normally, you know. But we were introduced to porn at a very young age. We were heavily influenced by all this, like, dystopian fucking propaganda that's come out of the educational system in the West and shit like that. Like, man, like I'm so glad that I'm so grateful that I am who I am when I am now. If I was growing up, if I was like 10 years of age right now, oh my God, that'd be so brutal. People would fucking hate me. I'd have very little friends right now, probably, you know? because I would just like I wouldn't be able to exist in an environment like that, and I know I wouldn't because of how I existed in an environment that I did grow up in. Like, like I had no problem turning around to people and telling them to fuck off in front of everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like I've a little bit of scumbag in me, similar to Owen, where like the environment that I grew up in was like, well, fuck you, bitch. Like, like I'm used to that. Like, I'm totally used to that. Like, really aggressive. You know, at the drop of a hat, someone will try to like fucking, just like physically assault you with their bare hands. Like, like, and not in like a two bros having a physical argument, but they don't really like hurt. Maybe one of them gets a bust lip or something. No, like these guys would like fuck each other up and like like bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like would scar each other for life, like that kind of stuff. Like, the type of environment where people open their door to a shotgun blast, depending on what they did, like mad shit, like, and not that I never witnessed stuff like that, but even just hearing stories like that, and then like, seeing the scars, like, like, fuck off, that actually happened, yeah, yeah, and then he like lifts up his pant leg to show you what's left of his calf, you know, yeah, open the door and he just like boom, boom, like he what, like. Okay, like you're a teenager in a country that, like, the citizens don't have or aren't like firearms are illegal here for the most part. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't like nobody's carrying guns apart from the criminals. Like, I've always found that so funny. It's like, so the likelihood of a citizen being able to defend themselves from a criminal, in this environment is actually like really low because the criminal is more likely to have a weapon and the criminal is more likely to have access to weapons, whereas the citizen has to call for help. The citizen has to be like, like imagine being in, you know, most countries in Europe, right? And it's the same in Australia, isn't it? I think from like unless you're in the outback and you like, everybody and their grandma has a fucking shotgun or some shit like that. Like now there is an element of that here, despite the island being small. There is an element of that here where like there are dudes with guns legally, Um, but then, like, yeah, for the most part, like, you have all these fucking people who couldn't defend themselves from a fucking stiff breeze. And I've been talking for 2 hours, nearly. Oh god, I was so ready to paint when I started up the stream, but I just fucking it's one of those days where I want to fucking bitch about life. Ugh. People on the internet disgust me. Uh, that's nice. Just evolved naturally over the years. Yeah, those are the best relationships. Uh, Yup, yup, you were the one who go away with a fist bump. You at least left her the classic Indian gift of tobacco and booze. Yeah, like at least I did her a favor and left her some alcohol and nicotine, like like both incredibly addictive substances that aren't exactly good for your health. After high school, the girl I liked from my bus, I waited at her bus stop 2 years later. She knows me from my work, chatting to her mum. Ah, that's cute. She jumped into your arms. Ah, that's nice. Yeah, like I don't like obviously I hate romantic movies because they're fucking disgusting, but like real life, romantic shit or real life just like, nice interactions, genuine loving interactions between people like are adorable in my opinion, like, I've always felt like I've given advice to some friends over the years about females and all, like, which is funny considering I've had my own issues and stuff, especially in my earlier days. But there is an element of like I think Owen understands this as well. Um, there is an element like I find that sometimes where I look at other males and I'm like, how do you not know this? Like do like well, it's obvious, isn't it? The second you think about it, it's like they don't interact with females because they're terrified of females, so they know nothing about females, so they don't know how to interact with females, which makes them terrified of females. Like it's horrible. But like, I suppose I had an advantage at a young teenage, in my young teenage years, like for like all through secondary school, pretty much. So for at least 6 years in a row, my best friend was a female called Orla from my class. It was like tiny, tan, cute, sexy. Never did anything with her. Just hung out with her all the time. Never did anything with her. Totally platonic relationship. And it's funny, like one day she did actually ask me to have sex with her. Like straight up just in my kitchen, just looked me dead in the eye and was like, "Do you want to have sex?" And I was like, "No." I fucking shit myself. I, it threw me like for the loop so bad, like, and and it was hilarious. It was fucking hilarious. Like, I thought it was it was such an unexpected request. Like, she's like, I have a condom. Do you want to have sex? And I'm just like, no. The fuck? What's wrong with you? Like, like by that time, she had been through like all of my friends, you know, or like three or four of them, like So it was just fucking weird. Funny though. I find interactions like that hilarious. Where it's just like, do you want to do this? And I'm just like, no. What's wrong with you? It'd be so fucking like awkward. Like there's like, because there's no like, hey, it's like there's no like there's that like that. It was such a clinical request. It was such a logistical request. Like, do you know, would you care to have sexual intercourse? Like sign here. It's like what the fuck. It was hilarious though. And then she ended up with a fucking ginger guy. I thought that was so funny. Two women from my past. One of them I was with for 9 months, and then your one Orla. Both ended up with dudes that looked like really similar to me. And I was just like, hmm. Uh, I used to think that way too. It was really, it would always be scary. I had my first at 33. Wish I had started younger. No way. Um, I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. That like people who have kids are like, I wish I had more and stuff. And it'll be interesting to see how I feel. You know, um, like a lot of people have told me that I'd be a great dad, and like I fucking wholeheartedly disagree with them. But like I do and I don't. I think I could raise a good child morally. You know, I just think I've become such a fucking like sage in some ways. Like, do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, I'm very like, meta in a lot of my thinking and stuff. I think I could potentially come across very detached to my children, which I don't know if that could be a good thing. But then again, the father is supposed to be a little bit detached, um, less emotional and stuff like that. Like, just like from my past, from my upbringing and stuff, it's just like I think a part of me is afraid of overcompensating to a degree. But we shall see, you know. I mean, like you can think about shit all you want. Like you don't know till you're in it. Like you know what I mean. It's just like anything. It's like fighting. Fighting's the best one. Like I think is the easiest example. Is like you don't know shit till you get punched in the mouth. You don't know shit. Like, and I've been hit lots, so I know what I'm talking about. like, I like when I could like I haven't been in a street fight. Um, but I am very comfortable with physical contact and violence, and I've been around a lot of it, and uh, performed a lot of it myself. Like and it is funny. It's always funny to see like grown men, like men older than me with children and a full time job and all these things that are supposed to be indicators of a functioning human being. like why don't you? Well, you're not a real man. You don't have a job and a car. Like, oh, like fucking yeah. But when you hear some dudes like that being like, oh, I'd knock him out, you know, and like everybody in the room just looks around and goes like, no, you wouldn't. Like, I've had that a lot. I've had that a lot. Like I've had a few people in my environment being like, I think I could take Alex, and like everyone in the room just goes like, nah. And then it'd be like a few people are like, I could take him, but you, no. Like, and then I'm left sitting there being like, supposed to me. Like, I find shit like that hilarious, and I think it is because of my martial arts, my early martial arts experience. Like that whole egotistical bravado shit, like totally got knocked the fuck out of me. Like as it does, like most people who enter a martial arts environment, you get it knocked the fuck out of you. You know, you're either good enough or you're not, and anyone can kill anyone can fuck up anyone on any given day. You know what I mean? The best fighters in the fucking world know full well that all it takes is one mistake. Because like if you know how to fight and he knows how to fight, the one who wins is the one who doesn't fuck up. Like that's all it. Like that's basically how it plays out most of the time. Now you do get to the really high level IQ fighters who like are so aware in the moment and calm and like present in the moment that they can calculate and set traps and do stuff like that. Like like Connor was that good. I don't think he's that good anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, but like Conor McGregor was that good. He was so good that he would like get into the head of a professional fighter. That's not an easy thing to do at all. I can't believe I just talked shite for 2 hours again. Oh, Chuaker and D-Bear would be proud. Oh god. Um, I was 30 when our first child entered this realm. Well, I just turned 32, so it's probably yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna have kids. But I bet money on me having at least one. You know, uh, you cook and fix their weapons and clothes. Yeah, like that's man. Owen said that, and it's so true. Like, be useful. Be useful. Be someone that people need. You know, like even if it's something like people find me useful. People like even though it's just entertainment. Like obviously I'm useful because I can design shit, I can paint, I can draw stuff. I have like an engineering kind of mind. I can come up with shit. Like I've many talents. Being a demigod. But my main use, I think the biggest thing I bring to the plate into like at least in like say like the bear community is I bring good vibes and uh interesting conversation. because that is what I enjoy. That's one of the things I'm passionate about is long form, interesting, stimulating conversation. I'm quite posh in that regard. I'm quite an old fogey in that regard. Like my vibe would totally be cigars, whiskey, leather chairs, fireside chat with like six dudes who are like millionaires, and I'm like learning some really good shit. Like, well, boy, what you want to do is like, like I'd love to sit in a room with like Jeff Bezos, uh, fucking Owen's uncle, the hunter dude, sounds like an absolute badass. Um, Norm Macdonald, if he was still alive, obviously, I'd love to like I'd love to just sit in a room with like dudes who have like accomplished amazing shit and just talk to them for hours. Like, because that's how you learn some real shit. Do you know what I mean? Is from dudes who have done some real shit. Uh, I randomly walked past a house of a lady swearing, walked over and figured out her AC unit just had a wasp nest plugged into the pipe, poked it with stick. Yay, fixed. That's the type of thing that like people really appreciate. Is just you're out randomly just like walking around. You're not fucking like you're just like going to the shop or some shit, or you're just going for a walk, and like you just see someone in need. Like someone's car is broken down. Someone like they were bringing shopping home with the baby in the pram, and like the shopping bag has like opened all over the floor and stuff like that. Like just being a decent human being and just being like, "Do you need a hand?" You know, like people. It's like it's a lot rarer now, unfortunately, because like people are so afraid of being like stabbed or some shit, or taken advantage of, or lied to, or scammed in some way, or um. I'm not built for violence. Even bow hunting, I can hurt. I can't hurt a mammal. Only fish and water birds. That's hilarious. I'm kind of like that, but not really. Like I'd shoot a deer, not a problem. But I think a part of me would feel a little bit bad about shooting a bunny rabbit because I think they're so cute. Um, that's a good place to be. You're the person that makes all the other cliques get along. Yeah, you're the hub. You're the go between. I've had that experience before in my life where like I hang out with so many different types of people that when everybody comes to hang out with me, they end up hanging out with each other. It's weird, like, because I'm not like that. I'm not the type of person to only hang around with like a clique. I've never had like a clique. I have individuals who like me, you know, and then I just have like a network of I'm one of those guys where like a little bit now, but not as much as I want. Like later on, and when I'm like in my 60s or 70s or something, like I want to be one of those guys that somebody says something and I'm like, I know a guy, like I want to be like Owen. I want to be like, oh yeah, I have a guy, be fine. Like you just know a guy who just does that shit. Like, it's like the best fucking. That's the best situation to be in. Like, that does make you feel like a king. It almost is like being a king. Like, it's like, oh, I have a guy. I can sort you out. You got what it takes to be a dad. Dive in. You won't regret it. Yeah, it's easier said than done. I've actually said that like if I got the female pregnant, that like I'm all up for it. Like, but she's not ready. She doesn't have the sense of security because she's earning more money than I am, So until such a point that my art and painting and all the stuff I'm doing until such a point as that surpasses how much income she's bringing in and makes her feel like she can stay at home and like actually get pregnant and take care of a kid and stuff like that, like which I get, I did like I can't fault her for that. But I have made the argument that I'm like, there's females out there who do all sorts of shit while pregnant. You know what I mean? Um, but then I can't like like I just sound like a dick then because like I don't really know what it's like to be pregnant and uh, all the idiosyncrasies involved being pregnant and to compare her to other females who are other females, so they're different, so they're not her. Like, do you know what I mean? It'd be like her criticizing me and being like, you know, like the thing I mentioned before, where it was like, oh well, you don't drive and you don't have a real job, so you're not a real man. It's very similar. It's like for me to be like, well, other bitches can fucking, handle being heavily pregnant and running a warehouse. Why can't you? Like, like I don't expect such things of her. I would prefer it if she was of the mindset that she could live with less means. Because in my opinion, we live like king and queen. We don't really have any stresses. Her job, like it's not like she gets paid crazy money, but her job is decent enough to support us with like or provide us with a what I would call a middle class living. We eat well. We don't have to worry about bills or anything like that. Like, and any money I bring in is a bonus. And it's been slowly growing over the past like 2 years. And since I started streaming, I'm starting to see some growth as well. Stream like there's like super chats coming in, people asking me to do stuff. People asking me to paint things, people asking to buy some of the painting goods and stuff like that. Like, so I'm quite confident that I can do this, but I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm like crushing because I'm not. Like, I need to work harder. I need to like be more mindful of the things that I'm not good at. You know, like I can entertain, I can create, I can do all these things, but I'm a horrible businessman. I'm not. I have very little due in me at all. If any, I detest money. Like I fucking hate it. Like, uh, I appreciate the sentiment that y'all think I'd make a good father. Like I said, many people have said that before, but I currently just like I don't disagree. I think I would make like a fine father, but just not yet. I just talk too much. I am guilty of this. I am guilty of this. I quite often talk too much. I should spend more time silent. But then again, I feel like I spend an incredible amount of time silent because I spend an incredible amount of time on my own. Um, I may be on disability and not working, but I own my own caravan and car in a housing crisis, always upgrading kitchen. You see, that's what I mean. Like, people will be like, "Oh, you don't have a real job. Uh, oh, you don't have a driver's license. Like what? Like you're 30 years of age and you don't drive a car. Like that's just sad. Like, and it's like, well, your definition of sad is far different to mine. Like I look at other people and I think they're pathetic. I look at other people and I think they have no shame, no dignity, no like absolutely no self respect, no ambition, no um, honor, no uh, like no compassion for their fellow man, or if they do, it's fake. You know, I could criticize. I have done. I could criticize these people ad nauseum. Until the fucking cows come home, I could criticize these people, and pretty much everything I'd say would be accurate and correct and true, and they would deny it, and we'd just be in that vicious circle that we've been in, like that the whole world has been in, where it's like, you know, well, I believe this, and it's like, oh, well, now we're talking about belief. Well, this is my truth. Oh, like, fuck, like, do you know what I mean? It's like that's why it's not surprising that people like me get to the stage where it's like, right now we just need to kill them all. Like, but alas, my wife has always made more than. Everyone I work with is the same. We have overreached on the gender pay gap in Canada. Yeah, a female's ability to make uh, expendable income in the West right now is stupid. It's so easy. It's so easy for a woman to just be like, "Give me work, please," or fucking put their face on a profile, like, like get on Instagram or get on OnlyFans or any of these things. If you're a female in the West right now and you're like a 4 out of 10 in looks, like if you're kind of a dog, you can still make bank just off being female, you know? And like females who don't admit the reality of the situation that males are expendable. If you're a white male, you're like basically hated, you know, and you're like a minority, and you're like treated like a second class citizen in a lot of ways. Like those are the women I fucking can't stand. Women who are like, still in that mindset of like, oh well, privilege and misogyny and fucking like you're all just like men are just like eh. Um, you deserve to be ground up into chum for sharks, in my humble opinion. Um, like that's the thing is like fucking I like similar to Owen, where he's like had those moments where he's like I don't know, I kind of get where they're coming from. Like I've had moments like that even before like I started watching Owen. I've had moments where I was looking into conspiracy theories and like esoteric knowledge and like occult stuff and stuff like that. Like, and I was like, they kind of have a point. Like, it's like like yeah, I get it. Like, genocide doesn't sound so bad sometimes. Uh, you can't wait for life to be perfect for kids. God gives us the grace we need for each child. Yeah, and that's why I turned around to the female, like, what, 2 years ago? I think kind of around the time we moved here or just before. I was like, look, I know neither of us like wants kids like right now, but like I also don't want you to be like on contraception and all this stuff, and I don't want us to be like fucking like immorally or whatever. Like I agree with all these things and stuff like, and she's just not ready, and I'm not gonna like what the last thing I'm gonna do is just like you know uh do it anyway and yeah and get her pregnant when she is in that kind of mindset. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you could potentially break if like a female mentally and emotionally by doing that, like by forcing them into that position, like, by being like, well, I don't care if you don't think you're ready, you're pregnant, deal with it. Like, fuck that. Like, I'm not the one that has to carry it for 9 months. I'm not the one that's going to have physical, do you know what I mean? Like, that's so fucked up. Like, that's why, like, I read, like, these Christians who are like, um, your wife shouldn't be able to refuse sex. A headache is not an excuse for denying your husband of sex and all this. Like, I've heard stuff like that where, like, they go to opposite end, where they go, like, hyper, 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 hyper masculine, where a woman is just, like, a tool to be used to praise God, and so are your children. Your children aren't even yours, they're God's. It's like, I don't I don't agree with that statement because I think it opens up a door for the demons to make an argument. Well, if they're not yours, then I can do what I want with them and you can't say shit. You know? They're like, if they're God's and they're not yours, well then me and God have to have a talk about this, not you and me. I could just kidnap your children and they're in God's hands, not yours, because they don't even belong to you. I could eat like I can totally see demons making that fucking argument. Like, if some devout Christian was to turn around and go, well, my children aren't really my children; they're God's children, and there's just demons sitting there going, oh, really? No, like, so that's how it is it? Like, you don't say. Like, I see that chess move coming a mile away. Um, oh, yes, grow your own stuff, even if it's the Godflower. Just make sure it's legal. Uh, yeah, like I'm not one of those to like wait for shit to happen. I like doing stuff. Obviously, like you're forced to wait for certain things to show up before you can take action. But generally, like I was like I was like, oh, like if I got you pregnant now, like we just deal with it, you know? We just fucking just deal with it, like. Um, but like I can't, you know, I get where she's coming from, and I can't force it upon her. I mean, I could, but like, what kind of fucking man would I be then? Like, you know, it is. It's an interesting uh journey to go on to like navigate all these like moral decisions in your life, you know. And for me, it strengthens my resolve, you know, facing the hard truths and being like, okay, so this is true. Okay, so this, and this is true as a result. Okay, so those are the rules of the game that I'm currently playing. Okay, that I can deal with, you know? I'm a gamer. I think like a gamer. As long as I know the parameters of the given paradigm and the consequences of actions and shit like that, like and the rules, I'm like, all right, cool, fair enough. Like, but the problem with clown world is that like, you know, everybody knows like it's inverted, it's rigged, it's all these things. Like they're hypocrites and liars, and they're the opposite. They're the type of people to turn around to you and be like, no, there's rules to this game, but for you, not for me. You know, because you're white. Uh, Jesus, I'm nearly like 2.5 hours now. Right. Well, I hope you all found this long, fucking rambling diatribe, this verbal vomit from myself today. I think I kind of needed it. Um, Perhaps it was a selfish endeavor, but it's done, so it's done. So, there we have it. I hope you enjoyed painting goo. I know I did. I do. I feel better after venting. Oh, well, now I'm tired. Okay. We shall resolve the conflict between the flora and fauna tomorrow. Um, Hopefully, Moonjazz will keep his mouth shut if he decides to show up. But other than that, no gaslighting or manipulation. I will not tolerate. Right. I love yous and leave yous. Until tomorrow, same time, same place, same high octane talking energy. I have been Defenderoo. This has been Painting Goo. And you can go fuck yourself, Ooh. Oh, right. Until next time, until tomorrow, be good, be true, and be beautiful. And I'll see you then. Much love. God bless. Thanks for the great stream. Good times. Get well, my friend. Yeah, I'm starting to feel sniffly again, but we'll see how that goes. Right. Much love. Thank you all for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for letting me rant along. No worries, bro. Much love. Right. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, days, mornings, whatever. Be good, be true, be beautiful, as I said before. And I'll see you tomorrow on Woden's Day. Auf Wiedersehen.